What is a secret you're taking to your grave but can share here anonymously? During the summer of 1964, when I was 12 years old and walking through the library parking lot, I noticed someone left the key in a 1961 Chevy Impala, so I borrowed it for a 10 to 15-minute ride through town. I returned it to the parking lot, but not the same parking spot. Never told anyone before. Reminds me of my dad telling me how he took his parents' car out once when he was like 14, pulled up next to his neighbor at a stoplight and sheepishly waved to her. He thought he was toast, but the other shoe never dropped with his parents, so he thought she didn't realize he wasn't 16 and didn't have his license yet. Years pass, and he and my mom end up moving to the neighborhood where he'd grown up, and that lady and her husband still live there. He said he'd almost completely forgotten about that. Then one day they're having a conversation out in the yard when she'd been walking by, and sort of out of the blue, she says something about how she never snitched on him for joyriding. My mentor killed a man in 1995. Dude was a war criminal that deserved it, but that's beside the point. When he died of old age, the police found an illegal pistol at his house, different gun. So the police started an investigation. But they refused to release his body for a funeral for over 6 months, claiming the investigation is ongoing. Eventually had to sue to get his body for burial. I have my mentor's written confession, an extensive documentation of the murder, and how he tracked down the man he killed, which I was willing to hand over to the police and let them take credit for solving a major international cold case. But they wanted to be assholes, so I'm not going to give them the information. I've told many people about this, but no one believes me, so I'm taking this to my grave, I guess. In 9th grade science class, our teacher let us play with a bottle of mercury. One kid opened it up and poured some on his hand. A girl next to him had taken off her rings and wanted to hold it. While she was holding it, the guy took her rings and dipped them in the mercury. They were gold rings, but they came out silver-colored, like the mercury. She thought it was cool and put the rings back on. She developed leukemia our senior year and passed away. It wasn't until many years later in grad school that I remembered this incident and made a correlation. Several kids from that class developed a type of cancer. It may be nothing, but it haunts me. I anonymously wrote a letter to a woman I didn't know, telling her about the affair her husband was having. The letter only had 4 lines. I told her how long it had been going on, that he accused her of being an alcoholic, who it was with, and that he bought the girlfriend the exact same jewelry for Christmas. They got divorced, she started going to AA, and is now living her absolute best life. The girlfriend dumped him when she found out about the jewelry. I found out my grandfather's story of just being a regular German soldier during World War II and spending a weirdly long time in a Soviet POW camp was very much not true. Instead, he joined the SS and was stationed in Auschwitz for about a year. He was later sentenced to 3 years prison in Poland. He died more than 10 years ago, and I haven't told anyone else in my family. My dad had a very close relationship with him, and I don't see what good it would do to tell him. I aborted my first child from an emotionally manipulative and abusive ex-boyfriend illegally at 25 by buying meds from black market and did the procedure myself. I was bleeding continuously for a month. I turned out fine afterwards. I felt bad about it, but I didn't regret the decision I made because I was not in the best place to raise a human at the time. I've continued to work on myself, and I think this time I'm ready whenever/if ever I will be blessed again with a baby. I'm turning 32 this year. A lot of these are super heavy, but I have a funny one. I just got divorced from my husband, but we're on very good terms and even friends, you could say. Anyway, we were joking recently about silly marital secrets, and he told me that when we got married and were doing the first dance, I had bad breath. He said he would have taken that one to the grave. He said the funny thing is in 13 years of marriage, I almost never had bad breath, so that was quite the anomaly. I blame the stress of the day and dehydration. But damn, that's a good secret. At a garage sale, my mom bought a small end table that doubled as an enclosed, fancy spoon display case. Well, I found there was a lock hidden on the bottom, with the key taped next to it. So I unlocked the case, moved the spoons so they formed 3 X's, relocked the case, and hid the key in my room. This just happened to be on a Friday 13th. It freaked out my family since no one knew the case opened. Naturally, I would do this randomly. Bad weather days, Halloween, anniversaries of bad events, days I didn't want to go to school. For most of my childhood. After 10 years, my dad just chucked the table after having enough of everyone screaming and freaking out. I don't feel biggest secret and biggest insecurity because my family would often make fun of me for not being able to laugh at jokes, for not feeling sad when someone passes, or for not screaming when blood is dripping from my arm or leg if I fell or got hurt. I also have no empathy nor sympathy. I just act like I do. My life is a pure act. I act like I feel emotion and feel for others, but I don't, and I wish I could. I studied facial expressions people make when happy or excited, or when they are sad, but the real feeling is never there. Thanks for watching. Write about your secrets in the comments, and I'm waiting for your likes and subscriptions. See you tomorrow.